What has the ability to hold a grudge like a bitter sister-in-law? Democrats coming after JD Vance for something he said 3 years ago. Let's watch the clip that is getting everybody in a big tizzy right now.
Joins us tonight. JD Vance, thanks so much for coming on. So tell us what, that was just a very short snippet of a much longer speech, and a really interesting speech that people, I think, should read. But what were you saying?
Thanks, Tucker. And by the way, if folks want to help us out, jdvance.com. Every little bit helps if you can throw us a couple bucks. But look, what I was basically saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it? I just wanted to ask that question and propose that maybe if we want a healthy ruling class in this country, we should invest more, we should vote more, we should support more people who actually have kids, because those are the people who ultimately have a more direct stake in the future of this country.
Yeah, so that clip was from 3 years ago, and he got to put his plug in for jdvance.com for donations. What we'd like you to do is please hit that like and subscribe button. The YouTube algorithm and the Spotify algorithm all support people who hit that like button, and it really helps us out. So if you could just take a quick second to do that, even if you hate the video, hit the like button so it gets spread so that more people can hate the video, and we'll just call it a draw. But anyway, so that is what was getting everybody in such a huge tizzy over this past couple of weeks. After
those people are called raised without brothers.
Exactly, need to develop a little bit of tougher skin. But one of the most notable people that jumped out was Jennifer Aniston, our favorite vapid Friends actress who wrote on X or Instagram, I hope that your daughter has a chance to have a child, right? Because what Jennifer Aniston was talking about is that obviously he's talking directly to her.
As is everyone else in the world.
Exactly. A little self-absorbed there, but he's talking directly to her and saying that people without children are crazy cat ladies. So, but let's go ahead and watch the full clip of his actual speech that Tucker Carlson was alluding to, and let's see if we can see an actual difference.
All of the next gen of the Democrat Party. If you go on any of these prediction markets, they'll tell you who's most likely to win the Democrat nomination for president in 2024, 2028. Think about all those people. The names are obvious. They're well-known people. Kamala Harris, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's now the Secretary of Transportation, Cory Booker, AOC. Think all these people. They're different. They come from different walks of life, different parts of the country. What is the one thing that unites every single one of them? Not a single one of them has any children. And why is that? Why have we let the Democrat Party become controlled by people who don't have children? And why is this just a normal fact of American life? That the leaders of our country should be people who don't have a personal and direct stake in it via their own offspring, via their own children and grandchildren.
Okay, so we're starting to see some huge similarities of what JD Vance said on Tucker Carlson, which got everybody in a hubbub, and this particular clip. So he did this one first and then went on Tucker Carlson. And but let's go ahead and continue right after he says grandchildren and see if you can catch who he's talking about and who he's not talking about.
Now let me do the necessary throat clearing because I do think it's important. Look, a lot of people are unable to have kids for very complicated and important reasons. I know good friends of mine who have struggled to find the right girl, find the right guy. There are people, of course, for biological reasons, medical reasons, that can't have children. The target of these remarks is not them. It's important to point that out.
Jennifer.
There have always been people like that who, even though they would like to have kids, unable to have them. Let's set them to the side. It is one thing to recognize that there are people who don't have children. It's one thing to recognize that there are people who don't have children through no fault or choice of their own. But it's something else to build a political movement invested theoretically in the future of this country when not a single one of them actually has any physical commitment to the future of this country.
Notice the difference?
Yeah. But, why now? Why are they bringing this up now? I mean, 3 years ago is a long time. I can barely keep up with the last 3 weeks.
I know, no kidding. I mean, so much has changed in the last 3 weeks.
At the time of his book, Hillbilly Elegy, they praised him even though he was a walking, talking example of the opposite of their victim mentality that they love so much.
Right.
Well, he was anti-Trump. He was towing the line, but now he's apparently Satan incarnate, and he is no longer towing the line.
Right.
And even worse, he is the VP candidate for Trump, and they are digging up dirt mode.
Yeah, here's the thing that the whole thing is disingenuous. When you're digging up dirt, and I think in political they call it opposition research. They make it sound cool, but so this opposition research that they're doing on him, they're bringing up this clip. They're trying to get the notable outrage, and all the liberal pundits and all the liberal actors and actresses are jumping on this. Oh, he's just so mean. He says, if you don't have a child, then you're horrible. But when push comes to shove, if you do the opposition research and you take a soundbite, you can combine words throughout Shakespeare and get the Iliad and the Odyssey.
The Mein Kampf.
You can rearrange words as much as you want to, and the fact that they deliberately neglected to say that he did a call out to say if you can't have children, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the political elites that are wanting to have policy and they don't have any skin in the game.
Right. Well, there has been plenty of backlash online. One Facebook post I saw said, Dolly Parton is from Appalachia, grew up dirt poor, worked her ass off. Dolly Parton helps kids read and takes care of her people. I'll take Dolly Parton's Appalachia over JD Vance's Yale Law School venture capitalist fascism every day. So let's pick this apart. Okay. Let's see, JD Vance was in the military, right?
He was a Marine.
He used the GI Bill so he could go to college and then go to graduate school to get that fancy law degree. He was in Afghanistan. Last I checked, that also counted as hard work.
Right.
Okay, and he graduated at Ohio State in 2 years, which is also hard work. He was not
verify.
Silver spoon fed.
I can verify combat is hard work.
Yes. So, to the person that posted this that I saw, how about you get off your lazy ass and try some hard work?
Right.
Also, fascist venture capitalism, those two things go very much in opposition to each other. So, I Wikipedia'd the meaning of fascism just to make sure I'm a little bit clear. Fascists have commonly sought to eliminate the autonomy of large-scale capitalism and relegate it to the state, meaning the government. However, fascism does support private property rights and the existence of a market economy and, wait for it, very wealthy individuals. Thus, fascist ideology includes both pro-capitalist and anti-capitalist elements, mainly concerned with building a strong national economy and being able to support a major war effort.
Yeah, when you look at with that and the problem with our political discourse is that
no one knows what the words mean.
They're throwing. That's exactly right. They're throwing around buzzwords and to your point, they don't know what they mean. They just hear everybody else throwing around these buzzwords, and it sounds bad, and so they're just going to go ahead and keep saying it. So it's just easy to say fascist. It's easy to say racist. But when push comes to shove, you're not using these words in the correct context. You're just throwing them out because it's a name. You're just calling names. Yeah,
you're just trying to shut down conversation and give yourself power. That's all it is.
Now, I'm going to talk about Dolly Parton, though, too. That the post is absolutely
correct. And we love Dolly Parton, and it's absolutely correct concerning her. It's just incorrect concerning JD Vance.
The point that I was going to make is that she became wealthy through her incredible talent of
Yes.
being a singer, songwriter, and a musician, entertainer. And so she was able to utilize capitalism and go through and make an earning. And she took those funds and then started her reading program. And
Without capitalism, she couldn't have done that.
Exactly. So she did. I would say that the same thing. I mean, she earned her money through show business, and then she took that success and parlayed it into helping other people, and that's exactly what JD Vance does as well.
Yes.
mean-
he invested in venture capitalism, which is giving funds to small startups, meaning the little guy who is usually in technology or medical research. I mean, we have a lot of meds to thank for medical research.
Yeah.
So, I think you need to look up some words before you make those Facebook posts.
No, I agree. And the thing that people are also throwing out is here he is, he's a Christian, but Jesus didn't have any kids. And
Yeah, that's a common online remark.
Yeah, and I can promise you, JD Vance is not claiming to be Jesus.
No, that's not in his statement at all.
That is
He's-
not at all what he's doing. But also Jesus was not making U.S. policy, and so as soon as I heard this, even before I saw the second clip where he deliberately is excluding people who are
Who
wanted to, who just couldn't have children, and so again, it's disingenuous not to talk about that. But what he is talking about are people that are choosing not to have children, and he listed a bunch of them, but they don't have children, they don't have any skin in the game, but yet they're telling you what you have to do with your children.
Exactly, and he's not attacking people outside a small group.
Right.
It's a criticism of the party that has become anti-child, anti-family.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's no parent on the earth who will look at you and say, "No, my view on the world is exactly the same before and after having kids." You will meet no parent that has any involvement in their life whatsoever.
Yeah, when you and I, we've talked about this before, but before we had children and before I even got married, I'd see bad news, surrounding children. So you'd be looking at the news, and a 4-year-old child was killed. A mother murdered her 2-year-old child and goes out clubbing. Who I'm talking about, Casey Anthony, major in the news. And I'll be honest, I'm not dispassionate about that, or wasn't dispassionate about that, but I would say, oh, gee, that's too bad.
Right.
That's too bad. Or you hear, read articles about human trafficking and kids getting kidnapped. Gee, that's too bad. Well, now that I'm a father and I have a son and a daughter, those articles affect me.
Yeah, because you see our kids' faces on the kids' body and that's being discussed in the news article.
Yeah, and for me, I get emotional when I read stories about parents trying to sell their 1-year-old, 2-year-old children to people online so they can get additional meth, or they sell their children into human trafficking deliberately, or they kill their children and drown them, and I just now I get emotional about it, and so it has definitely changed me, being a parent, and again, I wasn't indifferent before. I did say, that was too bad, but now it emotionally affects me.
Yeah, and I've heard comments from people like, well, of course you care about such and such because you have kids. And one thing I'd ask to people who don't have kids, or some of the same sentiments seem to flow from people who's, once the kid's grown up, they're like, all right, I'm done. You should still care as a society, because who's going to pay for your Social Security? Which generation is going to be working at the nursing home and determining the quality of care you get when you get old and get into the nursing home? Those are second, third, fourth order effects that I think people should think about when talking about kids.
Yeah, when you're looking at, and it's definitely this continuous slowdown And it's not just the United States. Birth rates are falling all over the world, with the exception of Africa. The birth rates are increasing in Africa, but China is having a slowdown in their birth rate. Japan is reached a critical point for their replacing their own population, having a birth rate. South Korea, same thing. Europe, same thing. The United States, same thing. And it's not unique to the United States. It's definitely a worldwide phenomenon, and Elon Musk has made comments on that people need to continue to populate the world, and that we haven't actually reached that maximum cap of human population, and studies show it's going to go down once that maximum cap has hit. But again, these politicians that are childless, they're having us do things as parents with our children that they don't have to do themselves. I mean, it's
like, nope, that's your problem. Well, there was a New York Times piece from last month referring to childless leaders as they don't see a future for the country or the world. And if those types of people who are making rules have that mentality or mindset, I mean, I wouldn't trust them coaching a little league team, much less making policy.
Yeah, I mean, it goes with the same thing. You see a lot of social media posts of, and I'll be honest, oftentimes it's liberals, social media posts of liberals that say, how could I bring a child into this world knowing that it's going to have a carbon footprint? How can I bring a child into this world because the world is so horrible? And so they're choosing not to have children, whether it be for climate change or whether it be for political climate and things like that. And but these people are also voting for policies that harm people with children. I honestly don't want a future where our children get anonymously or without our permission or just behind our backs to get transed or something like that.
Any little thing. Maybe they would care more like, oh, your kid's going to throw out all this trash
right
without your permission. I don't know.
But the thing is there are videos of teachers, of educators, small children educators that brag this, I'm going to trans your kids. I'm going to trans your kids.
I saw a joke earlier today online, like mom drops son off at school dressed like a girl so that the teacher could turn him back
into a boy. Yeah, that's funny, but still, these people who are choosing not to have children, not, and again, I'll make the same claim JD Vance said. If you can't have children, I'm sorry for you, and I wish there was something you could be done, in vitro fertilization, things like that. But I'm talking to the people who are choosing deliberately not to have children because of.
And then you're making policy.
And then you're making policy, but you're voting for people to make policy against the wishes of regular parents. The everyday Joe and Jane Smith who have children who just want to have their children do reading, writing, arithmetic, geography, all of the things, personal finance, governance, all the things that are important for an education, not any of the other DEI or any of the apologizing for your race or anything like that. Just the future needs to be education of the tasks that are required to be an adult.
For a party that says they want 16-year-olds to vote, you'd think they'd want more 16-year-olds.
Yeah, one makes you think.
You want more 16-year-olds out there. But, I think people should have skin in the game whenever they have a say on anything. And I've always said, since we've been a couple, I think to be a member of Congress, you should be a veteran because you're sending people to war. You should know what that's like. Well, paying more and more attention to politics, I think, no, it should be more than that. Like if you aren't a veteran, you should be like a successful business owner without inheriting it and or have children. so that you know what the crap you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are, definitely pros and cons to veteran, members of Congress. And really, I want to say there has been kind of this explosion of veterans going into Congress and the Senate. And, I think the country is better for it. It's been a very long time since there has been a veteran that was president of the United States. And really, I want to say the last one was George W. Bush, and he was in the Air National Guard. And then before that was his father, who was actually a naval aviator in World War II. And so, and obviously Ronald Reagan was in mandatory service in World War II as well. But on the by and by, we really have not had any major leaders at the top in quite some time that were combat veterans. Right. And again, the combat veteran would be George H.W. Bush being that naval aviator in World War II. But, I think it's right. You should be able to relate to whatever it is that you're wanting a bill you're wanting to pass or policy you're wanting to implement. You should be able to relate to that.
And politicians are supposed to represent their constituents.
That's exactly right.
And being a lifelong politician for 54 years, I'm sorry, you no longer represent those that your people.
You're having people tell you what the people are thinking,
and you haven't been outside and touched grass in 54 years.
Right. I mean, here's something that stuck into my mind was post COVID there was this lack of infant baby formula. And it was in the news cycle all the time, and believe me, parents knew that we're needing the formula to be able to help feed their children. They definitely knew, the news knew, but it was a long time. I want to say it was two months when finally Biden found out that there was this baby formula thing, and he's like, why didn't you guys tell me? Meaning his staff. Well, it's because he's so far removed. It's just those little people that are having the problem, the children, and he is just so insulated that he couldn't see the forest through the trees.
Oh, even Governor Newsom, remember a couple months ago, he went to Target and people were stealing, and he was like, why isn't anyone doing anything? And the register guest didn't realize that it was Governor Newsom right there. Right. She goes, well, it's the governor's policy. He's like, what?
Right. Yeah. Guess what? It's you, pal. It's you. But one of the things, obviously JD Vance has talked about Kamala Harris not having children, but people say, oh, she has children. She has children. She has stepchildren, and so she's a stepmom. Yeah.
And there are some good step parents out there. I can't speak personally, but there are some good out there.
Right. But give me a break. When she became a stepmom, her husband's daughter was 15. Her husband's son was 20. There was no parenting that was really going on through those formative years. There was no
potty training, no teaching to read,
eating, foods that they didn't like or things like that. Temper tantrums. I mean, she didn't go through any of that. So
parent-teacher conferences,
right? So for her to say, well, she's a stepmom. She you can't call her childless. She has stepchildren. Come on, they were 15 and 20 years old. And give me a break. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, and I think a lot more people would have kids if a 15-year-old minus attitude just popped out.
Right.
I mean, they're basically baked already. The cake's done.
Exactly. But politicians, honestly, they should be making it easier, not harder to have kids, and more than just tax policies. But as far as schools notifying and things like that, I mean, of doing stuff behind your back in secrecy, and I mean in public schools, and it bothers me.
I mean, the government makes it harder, not just tax policy, of course, but, and you have the Governor Newsom's law, and you have public schools that, I mean, goodness, they learn nothing. I think Chicago has like a 21% proficiency rating on reading. That means kids that can read kind of sort of what's expected. Not excellent. No Nobel Peace Prize winners in the future.
And you know, about statistics, when you say that number, let's flip it another way. That means 79% of children can't read.
Basically. Yeah, that's basically what it means. And then, discipline. You can't discipline your kids the way you actually need to sometimes. I mean, goodness, if you raise your voice at your child in public, you get the stink eye, much less any old school parenting. Or, you do it at home and then your kid mentions it to a teacher, I mean, you're going to get the at best, the wagging finger in your face. And then, you also have these building regulations and housing. I mean, the state of California has basically made it impossible for them to build more houses. Well, guess what families need? They don't need a one-bedroom apartment. They need a house. And then, the crime. I mean, I'm sorry, but do you really want to be vulnerable to all the crime going up when you have a baby stroller or car seat in your hand? You're not going to be able to fight anybody off. And then the healthcare is too expensive. I mean, I've mentioned her many times on this show, but I will keep mentioning it. The lady that does my eyelashes, she cannot afford to have health insurance for her 7-year-old every year of that child's life. She has to skip the premiums every other year. And she only has one kid. She can't afford to have a second child. And then, the government should be making it less expensive to have treatment done, like IVF. And the working world needs to be less hostile to working moms. I mean, there are plenty of moms that would love to be able to work maybe part-time, like, hey, I'll take a lower pay, but I can't afford to be a completely stay-at-home mom, And then just lower the cost of living so that people can raise their kids. I mean, hopefully be able to stay at home for the first year or so. Lower the cost of child care.
Well, that was one of the big things. That was one of the huge things that the Biden-Harris administration, with all of the inflation making everything more expensive, it directly hurt parents, and consequently the second order effect is it hurts kids.
Yeah, I mean, and daycare centers, I mean, their costs go up with food and rent and, the utilities, and so they have to charge the families as well. So all these people commenting, like the celebrities, are they playing victim or they just making everything about them? I mean, people like Jennifer Aniston and all these celebrities, I mean, they're like little 3-year-old brats, with parents just mowing all the problems down in front of them so they never have to face any challenges. And it just builds this world where they think everything's about them and I got to keep my name relevant or I'll lose my celebrity career. So just give me a break.
Right. Yeah. When we have conversations like this, and again, the Democrats are using these little sound bites to attack JD Vance, but when push comes to shove, just like always, they're wrong, or they're providing an incomplete picture. And we have got to stop demonizing people like JD Vance, who grew up extremely poor and was able to utilize the military to do great and wonderful things and to do the things that he earned and use the GI Bill and go to Yale and start a business, venture capital business that helps other businesses start and or grow. You can't take a soundbite from this gentleman, and so that's what they did. They went in and got into Tucker Carlson, grabbed a soundbite, but didn't go and do a deeper dive. So I'm hoping
didn't listen to all the words out of his mouth. Just like I tell our children, they'll hear us talk about one little thing, they'll hold on to one little word, and then get upset and be like, listen to every word out of my mouth before you get upset.
Exactly. And so hopefully we were able to shed some light on it. I haven't seen any other podcasters that are showing this second clip. So good job on you, Kimberly, for doing the research on that. But still, this just goes to show that there is more to the story. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.
Like many people in the world, I look forward to the Olympics every 4 years. It's a really exciting time. I really like the pageantry of it. But I'll be honest, just like you, I was shocked about the mocking of Christianity that occurred in the opening ceremony. Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So, again, normally you have this beautiful opening ceremony that is full of culture, that is full of pageantry. It's normally inside an enclosed venue, but the 2024 Paris Olympics is the first time that it was held outdoors, not in a stadium. And instead of culture and pageantry, this is what we got. And, obviously this person is gyrating on stage.
For the listening audience, it is a man with a blonde beard, long hair, wearing very provocative clothing.
Female clothing, yeah.
Female clothing, gyrating, crawling in a sexual manner on the stage. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just absolutely crazy. Now, the big problem was that we're going to show you a video of where they're mocking the Last Supper, which is the apostles and Jesus having the day before Jesus was crucified by the Romans. And obviously this is something that is beyond traumatic to see on the stage of trans people and gay people just making open mockery. But you would not believe how difficult this information and these videos are to get on the internet. They have been absolutely sanitized.
NBC has been busy. I mean, even the day it happened, I was seeing Twitter just explode, and I'm like, okay, let me go to YouTube, let me go to the news stations, try to find it, and it was difficult. Right.
I mean, the internet has been erased as far as this goes, and so we're one of the last podcasts that actually have some original footage that we can show you. I mean, even Elon Musk, who obviously owns Twitter and X, there was an article that he commented on, or a video he commented on, saying that this is a complete mockery of Christianity, and the video he commented on has been deleted. Jeez. I mean, and he owns X, and his own reshare was deleted out of this. So we actually have original footage, and I'll be honest, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because
and if you're listening, you need to watch this episode. We have a lot of video, a lot of pictures to show you.
Exactly, but we don't know if we're going to get demonetized out of this if we show this, because again, YouTube has been scrubbing this. So please download this episode and keep it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe,
and
so
share with a friend.
Yeah, so we can get this out, because I don't know how long it's going to be on our channel. But we'll go ahead and watch the original video that is showing the mockery of the Last Supper. So here we go.
And for the listening audience, it's an obese woman with a crown. Some depictions of Jesus have like that halo effect, surrounded by drag queens, and there is even a child in the picture.
Right, and I would make sure you pay attention to the human being that's in black.
Standing next to the child in this shot.
Next to the child in this shot, because there's more information about that individual. But again, this is being scrubbed completely off the internet. We have probably one of the last surviving copies of this, so make sure you're able to see this and be outraged as well. But what we're going to do now is we're going to have a up and down side-by-side comparison of the actual painting of the Last Supper with the freeze frame from the drag show mocking the Last Supper. So here you can see on the top is the painting by Da Vinci, and you have the bottom, which is the mockery that's going on. You can look at it, it's exactly the same, and obviously this is super controversial. Here we have Dionysus
is who it's allegedly supposed to be. I had not seen a depiction of Dionysus as a perverted Irish Papa Smurf. I missed that episode of the Smurfs.
And here's a picture of him lounging in front of, on the table in front of this Last Supper. The guys, this is just weird. This is just really weird. And
and I don't know if he has pantyhose or something type material covering his nether regions, but they may as well not be covered by anything.
Right. And here we have the man in black.
That was standing next to the child just a second ago.
Next to the child, and you can see that he has his junk out.
Yeah, no pantyhose there.
Yep.
Nope.
And it's this is on live television, and so he's got his junk is out, and again he was standing next to this little girl who's gonna show up in a second, and she's in yellow. And, I think this is just a travesty. Here she is. And she, as you saw in the mocking, she was standing next to him.
She's like, what, our son's age?
Yeah. She looks like she's 7, 8. And here she is standing next to the man in black. And again, his junk is out. And, this is pretty disgusting. And, we're closing with the blue guy, and he's going to dance a little bit more. But still, this is kind of just a travesty.
Yeah, and there are no true apologies about any of this. The naked blue man who starred in the bizarre Last Supper parody at the Olympic opening ceremony has broken his silence on the controversial stunt. He's a French actor and singer by the name of Philippe Catherine. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Was playing the role.
Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, I'm a knuckle dragger from Georgia. Give me a break, and you're disgusting. So. He's playing the role of the Greek god of wine, Dionysus, in a recreation of the famous biblical scene of Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples sharing a last meal before the crucifixion. But, he's not sorry that this caused offense amongst Christians. He seemed to dismiss that. He said, it wouldn't be fun if there were no controversy. Wouldn't it be boring if everyone agreed on this planet? No one's saying you have to agree with, okay, do we need a flat tax or do we need a progressive tax?
Right.
This is very, very blatant. The obese woman on her Instagram, she put, it's the gay New Testament. And it's just image after image after image, not just this, that are offensive to Christians. You have in the Olympic rings online posted with a golden cow next to them. You have the pale horse, which comes out of the book of Revelation, bringing in the Olympic flag. I mean, it's a number of scenes.
Yeah, one of the things that, I think has also been brought up. The Catholic Church has said that this is really upsetting because, if any other religion had been mocked like this, Islam, for instance, I just can't imagine what a fatwa would be.
Another Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, I mean, a fatwa would be issued. People would be getting killed all over the world, and so with the Christians, it's because we're big on forgiveness, which is a huge part. Turn the other cheek and forgiveness. It makes us easy to make fun of because you're not going to have a bunch of Catholics that are just going to go out and just start killing the IOC.
And we're not calling for that.
No, we're not. Nobody's calling for that. But if it was Islam, if they had done a complete parody mocking Islam, Muhammad, then it would have been a completely different story. You would have had mass rioting in the streets because a lot of Paris has Muslim only communities and neighborhoods and things like that. And so this is sad that Christians are the punching bag.
Well, also, I've seen, not just the outraged Christians, but I've also seen Christians saying, Jesus would want us to let the drag queens in and blah, blah. Look, if someone who's transgender comes sits next to me at church, well, guess what? They need it just like I need the hominy. But you're being really in the face, really, really in the face. When you start mocking people's religion, yes, there should be backlash. I've also heard a comment like, oh, well, this is just a painting and it's widely used, and we're such a big religion and we can share. God calls upon us to be generous and share this image, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, at what point do they have to keep taking and taking and taking? They've taken schools, they've taken churches. I mean, you have openly gay ministers in some churches now. At what point do you actually rise up and realize that there is a spiritual warfare that we've been hearing since all of us have been Christians?
Well, so here's something that I have a problem with, and a lot of people are looking at this from a European Christian point of view or a North American Christian point of view. But I know you and I have had this conversation, and Christians are the most persecuted religious group worldwide than any other religion. I know people like to talk about the Jews. There are more Christians that are killed every year than Jews and Muslims combined. I mean, Christians are being killed all over the world and are being persecuted. It's the number one. So, I have sympathy for Israel. I have, sympathy for other groups that are being persecuted. But Christians are being killed en masse all over the world. And so when you have, this mockery of Christianity, there are people who are dying for it. There are people who are dying for it, and it's not talked about a lot. But just do your own research, and you'll be able to see exactly how many Christians and in what country they're being persecuted in.
Yeah, and I think we are very fortunate enough to be in America where we can stand up and speak out, and so we should. And and it shouldn't just be Christians that are upset about this. I mean, yes, you can argue France is not a religious country, it's a secular country, and the Olympics were originally meant to be a celebration with sports to Zeus, and all that's valid. But you have, like I just listed, the golden calf, the pale horse, the Last Supper, several slaps in the face. You eventually ran out of cheeks to slap on. But then you have the child in basically at nuts level with a drag queen. So even if you're not religious, you just have a sense of morality, you should be upset. Muslims should be upset. Jews should be upset. Christians should be upset. Morally correct people should be upset. I mean, hell, you even have Andrew Tate upset about this. And when he starts speaking some truth that most of us should get along with, there's a problem. Yeah,
and he converted to Islam, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
he's upset for us. I mean, come on.
Right. I mean, this is again, it compounds on itself.
It's not just one subtle image that you can brush off. It's several images. It's pretty blatant out there in the face, and they're not even apologizing for it. I know the such and such committee got up there and said we didn't mean to cause offense, but first of all, there were no rehearsals out there. And I understand you can't block a bridge numerous times, but not even in the middle of the night. There was a rehearsal for this. They had to do it on the fly. And guess what? It's not, you can blame the bridge. No, it's because this child's parents wouldn't get upset. That's what, I mean, even if you had rehearsals in the middle of the night, it's Paris. It's a major worldwide city. Someone's going to be up and they could record a rehearsal and go, what the crap is this? And post it online. So, and then people that were directly involved in it, the fat girl saying it's the gay New Testament, one of the drag queens saying, we're not going to be silenced. We're out there. I'm glad I ruffled some feathers. No one's apologizing for it.
Right.
So I would not be so generous and quick to forgive here.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not just an attack on Christianity. Really, it's not. It's an attack on the family. I mean, you think about it. I actually recorded the or DVR'd the opening ceremony and various sports that our children are in, and I was looking forward to showing them the opening ceremony. But interestingly enough, NBC has gone into my YouTube TV, and
it's all connected to the internet.
They deleted that scene out, even though I DVR'd it on YouTube TV. They went in and they edited that out. But still, it was 1:30 p.m. in the United States during the summer, so school's not as now our children are in school. They go to a summer school to keep them academically sharp.
Well, it's a worldwide event, so kids would be up somewhere.
Well, they would be up somewhere. Well, if it was 1 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't wake up our children. But so it was 1 p.m., and so if the children had been home from school, I was going to show it to them live. Oh my gosh, I'm glad.
I was like, you may not want to do that.
Yeah, and so not only it's just getting harder to be a parent. Not only do you have to watch out for the schools and rogue teachers
and all the movies, even if you think you have your own copy purchased on Apple TV, if you want to be secure, get a hard copy DVD. I mean,
right.
Or VHS. If you have that, we might have to go back to like the 1980s style camcorders and hook it up to the TV and say, "All right, hit record."
Right. I mean, for us, as far as movies, we have to watch the movies ourselves. To see if it's appropriate for the children. It used to be, it's a G-rated movie. Well, that doesn't mean as much anymore.
It means nothing anymore. And I've heard podcasters say, okay, I kind of vetted this movie by talking to a friend that watched it or reading all the online reviews. And so I took my kid to the theater, and they had gay pride commercials
right.
before the movie started in the theater. So it makes me think of Chris Rock, when he goes, it's harder to raise kids. It's like, it's not safe. It goes from, okay, 1 year you can play from that gate to that gate. Okay, you can play from here to here. By the time the MFer's 10, he's just hopping in a circle.
Right, because the world gets smaller and smaller.
It gets harder and harder, and they keep making every little aspect of life harder to raise a good human being.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the moral compass is just being spun around in a circle. And hey, it's France. I got it. They're huge into debauchery, but they used to be a Catholic nation and a Catholic kingdom, and they chose to build a secular society. That's awesome for them if they wanted to do that. But then to go and mock a religion, I think, hey, if you're going to be secular, then leave religion out of it.
Yes,
altogether.
They're the ones that brought it in. They could have left out all the Christian references, and then the Christians would have been like, all right, you got this weird Marie Antoinette beheading. It's creepy.
Right.
And the demonic looking red lights on the building. Okay, but hey, it's France. They're kind of gone anyway, but just play the sports. And the Christians would have shut up. Right. So you started it.
Yeah, exactly. But, this is not indicative of a thriving society, honestly. I mean, what God wants from us is a society that builds and creates and loves him, not one that divides and destroys.
And that's what all this woke ideology is a way to divide people. It's destroying the fabric of society.
Yeah. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you share this video. Again, it took us forever. Video after video after video has just absolutely been taken off the internet that has any reference to this material. Our video may not stay up. We may get demonetized for showing this. Who knows? Who knows? But still, we care about it. We care about you. So we're going to take the chance. So share this video with as many people as you possibly can. Thank you so much for tuning into Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.
Well, a lot has changed in the past week and a half. First, it was Biden v. Trump. Now it's Harris v. Trump. But Kamala Harris had a 38% approval rating prior to that and now has a 43% approval rating. But why? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So is this bump simply because there's a non-Trump candidate that has a pulse, or do they forget why they didn't like her to begin with?
I mean, was it just the laughs and the word salads, which I really think of more as a ball of yarn, a whole lot of twists and turns, and goes absolutely nowhere?
Or was it this mic drop from her presidential run when Tulsi Gabbard really just laid on the heat?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Just to be clear, this was from the 2020 election. She got 0 votes. 0 votes in delegates for that. She dropped out because her polling was so low even before the Iowa caucus. Yeah. So and then 2024, she has also gotten 0 primary votes from any human being on the Democrat side at all. I mean, and so she is going to be the Democrat candidate for president where she has not received a single vote from a Democrat human being in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, even BLM is upset about it.
Yeah, but now she's even using the prosecutor versus felon spin. So let's go ahead and talk about a record. Yeah,
so Tulsi Gabbard mentioned that people were locked up for marijuana, charges. Now, I heard an argument on a podcast earlier. So when people get arrested, there can be strikes and points. And so, like, if they have enough offenses, they have enough points, and they can argue stuff down. So by the time they finally do get stuck in jail, like, oh, well, it may look on paper to be a lesser charge of pot, but they may have a whole bunch of other criminal offenses that led up to it. So that is an argument that, could be made against the whole, oh, you locked up people just for using pot argument. Now, I do want to point out something very disingenuous that she said one time. She, was like, oh, yeah, I used to smoke pot while listening to Tupac. And I'm like, well, you got into the bar, you passed the bar exam in 1990, but Tupac's bestsellers were released in 1991 and 1993, 3 years after she passed the bar. So
but let's watch the video where she's admitting that she smoked marijuana.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
and I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
So it's a long time ago, but still she's laughing. She did inhale, but she sent a lot of people to prison.
But she also has a hard time relating to people. And a story I heard on Megyn Kelly's show in April 2022, she was invited to a news mogul's house for dinner, and Harris's anxiety was so bad that staffers had to hold a mock dinner. Not some speech to thousands of people or anything like that, or memorizing a Hollywood script. No, just to sit through a dinner, her staffers had to hold a mock dinner so she could get through it. I mean,
just to teach her which fork to use. Or,
I don't know.
Honestly,
I'm like, holy crap. But also she likes to talk like, yeah, I'm on these streets, or she grew up poor or whatever. No, she didn't. Her mother was a cancer researcher. Her father was a professor, and she claimed to be a product of public schools. Well, in 6th grade, she went to a private Catholic school. I mean, she spent most of her formative years in Canada, not on the streets of California being bussed around. And at the high school she went to in Montreal, it was a very wealthy district. And so she's just having a hard time relating to other people.
Yeah, I mean, in the 2020 presidential debate, didn't she call out Biden about the racial districting and busing, and that she was one of those little girls that had to get bussed around?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many years she spent doing that, but obviously not very many with her being in Canada. And also, she's been coronated her entire career. Okay, she worked as a deputy prosecutor for Alameda County from 1990 to 1994, but then she met Willie Brown.
Right.
Yeah, who goes from being a deputy prosecutor and then 4 years later to being DA, when that takes most people 10 years
Right.
to do? I mean, and I don't think she's smarter than so many people
Well, it helps
to do in 4 years what it takes them 10.
It helps when you're dating the mayor.
Another part of her record was the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act, endorsed by A.G. Harris at the time. It recategorized some nonviolent offenses as misdemeanors rather than felonies, such as shoplifting, forgery, and writing a bad check for, you guessed it, less than $950, and the use of illegal drugs below a certain weight. Now, the intent was that this would require money that was saved as a result of the measure would be spent on school truancy and dropout preventions and victim services and stuff. But guess what? The crime went up because if people are allowed to steal, they're going to... So it's saving no one money.
It's saving no money.
And the businesses close, you lose tax revenue. Oh, but, it's just another example of this leftist language, feel-good language. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to save money and we're going to put it where kids are off the street. No, they're going to be out stealing.
Right.
It's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, another part of her record is she has claimed that she got her start by prosecuting child sex abuse cases. Sounds good, right?
Yep.
Well,
That's an award winner.
yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to stop child sex abuse, right?
Right.
So there's an AP News article from June 2019 talking about a man named Joey Piscicelli had written Kamala Harris to tell her that a priest had molested him and was still in ministry. She did not respond. And guess what? He wrote again 5 years later, urging her to release the records on accused clergy to help with other alleged victims who were filing lawsuits, but she did nothing. Survivors of clergy abuse and their attorneys say that Harris's record on fighting sex abuse within the Catholic Church is relevant, as the U.S. Senator at the time campaigns for the presidency at the time as a tough on crime ex-prosecutor who got her start prosecuting child sex abuse cases. They complained that Harris was consistently silent on the Catholic Church abuse scandal, first as district attorney and then as the attorney general. It claimed that she withheld documents regarding clergy sexual abuse from attorneys and used reporters to protect the identities of victims.
Well,
but
I mean, you can do that without releasing the names of the victims.
yeah, you can just redact any information that identifies the victims. And, I think this story would make it harder for her to pick Governor Josh Shapiro as her running mate, because in 2018, at the time, Attorney General Josh Shapiro released an explosive grand jury report finding that 300 priests had molested more than 1,000 victims over 70 years. So what she failed to do, he did.
So why do you think she's running? Is it just power? Is it hubris? I mean, is it she's just immediately seeking power for the next job the second she got one?
That was her entire career. Basically, anytime she got one job, she was off to try to get another job. And, at each job, she did it as little as possible before she sought the next. It's like an employee who just went through training asking, when can I be the manager?
Right.
I mean, you need to learn to do the job well.
Yeah, it just seems when you say it like that it's just padding a resume. To go from I checked the block here, I checked the block there, I checked the block here. Now I can be president.
Basically.
I mean, that's really what she's doing. I mean, she's using her blackness and her Asian heritage, to capitalize on. She talks about being from the streets, and she's trying to capitalize on that. She talks about being a tough prosecutor who, on the side, smokes marijuana. I mean, so which is this?
Yeah, I mean, she uses anybody and anything possible. I mean, she like Joe Biden,
right,
plagiarized. She plagiarized being a little girl saying "freedom" on Jimmy Fallon, but MLK. There's an article from MLK talking about a girl in 1965 telling a police officer, "What do you want? Freedom." So
right.
She just uses everything. I mean, she got to where she is due to Willie Brown. She talks about equity. Well, you know what? So where's my endorsement by Willie Brown?
Right.
Not that I'm interested, but it should be at least offered, right? But all the candidates, Trump,
right.
RFK, Joe Biden, they have had their sex-fueled histories, but unlike the males, hers is why she got her career. Those were just side stories for the guys.
Right. So again, she was deputy prosecutor from 1999 until she met Willie Brown in 94, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're telling me that she became this DA in 4 years?
And she's so smart. It takes everyone else to do it in 10, but she can do it in 4.
Okay.
Really? Those
it.
word salads are very indicative of someone with that high of an IQ.
Now, so I asked, why you thought Harris, but why do you think Trump is running? Is it power?
Well, I mean, he waited until he was like 68, 69 to run the first time, and people had been asking him, hey, are you going to run for president one day, since he appeared on Oprah in the 90s?
Right. I mean, to me, it seems as though he's not doing this to just check the box like Harris is doing with her resume. I mean, he doesn't need this trouble. I mean, he doesn't need money.
I mean, how much money has this cost him?
Right. I mean,
the millions of dollars with E. Jean Carroll, the hundreds of millions of dollars with the stupid, loan documents where they say he lied on his loan, which he paid back. Yeah. I mean, come on.
And so also he's donated his salary every year as president to charity and or back to the government. So I mean, he's not doing this for the money. He doesn't need it for the fame. He's one of the most famous people on the planet.
Yeah.
He's not doing it for power, because again, he could have pardoned anybody and everybody on his way out the door. He didn't do that. So he's not about just abusing the position. I mean, he's doing it for what I believe he says he's doing it, because he's a man who means what he says, and he's doing it to save the country. Oh,
and he has grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly.
So he has skin in the future of America.
Exactly. He's got young grandchildren, and so he does. He wants to protect his children, his grandchildren. He wants to protect our children, your children as well. And he's doing it because he feels he has to help us.
Well, I heard an excellent quote on a YouTube channel that I like to watch by Amala Ekanobi, titled "He's Right, Whatever, I'm Voting for Trump," featuring a social media person by the name of Charlie. He says, media claims Trump is a threat to democracy. He's a dictator. Well, comparing Trump to Hitler when half of the country wants to vote for him has the same flavor of a closeted gay guy who goes off on homophobic rants.
Wow.
I could not put it better myself.
Yeah, so, we've done a number of presidential profiles. Honestly, having Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate wasn't on our bingo card initially.
No.
But we had to do this video profiling her, and she is just unlikable. I mean,
yes.
We talked about the bump that she's gotten. I think that's a honeymoon phase. I think she's going to do a bunch of her word salads again. I think she is going to do that Wicked Witch of the West cackle laugh more. And again, as people see her more and more, the same thing is going to happen that happened in the 2020 election. People just didn't like her. She just didn't like her.
And for all the people out there who say, oh, you have to vote for her because you're black. You have to vote for her because you're Indian. You have to vote for her because you're a woman. I'm sorry, but my opinions are not co-linked to my extra X chromosome. You are entitled to your opinion. You are not entitled to tell me my opinion. It's very reminiscent of when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Do you really want someone else telling you what to think? This is a free country, free for thought, and we should be free of information. But as we've seen with the horrible coverage of the Olympic ceremony, they're scrubbing the blue Dionysus perverted Papa Smurf. They're scrubbing that from the internet. They're scrubbing the drag queens from the internet. I mean, it's very reminiscent of the Google Gemini, where they rewrote history. Well, deleting things is another way to rewrite history.
Well, that's the thing is in 2019, Kamala Harris was rated the most liberal senator. Right, the most liberal senator, and the GovCheck website that gave her that rating has since sanitized it, and that has been removed. And so, I mean, it's just kind of this interesting opportunity of what is going to remain on the internet. Right, and here's a clip that hopefully doesn't get deleted. We have it, and we're going to put it on here. But here's even NBC confronting Kamala about being the most liberal senator.
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all.
And look at that; she's dumbfounded. She's like, "I've been caught." And again, this is probably going to get sanitized off the internet with the GovTrack. And I'm sad that that's happening, but the liberals, partnered with Google and YouTube, they are going to start removing information so that you do not get to make the best decision that you possibly could. But by tuning in to Azimuth Podcast, you're going to be able to do just that. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button because, again, we don't know how long this video will be up because we're showing things that are being deleted from the internet. So thank you so much for tuning into Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages. What is going to be, disinformation? What is, what's the future going to be? When we're looking at whether or not we're going to be able to save this country and we're going to be able to protect our children.
I think this is an excellent. Them deleting information from the internet is an excellent argument for why people should pay attention. Because if you wait until, the next election is right around the corner and you are waiting until election day to do your research, they're deleting information. So if you are constantly engaged, you don't have to be as deep dived as a professional or like we are, but you need to keep your hand on the pulse so that they can't delete it from the internet before you get a chance to even look at it.